Live and in color from Memorial Stadium in Baltimore, it's 1969 World Series Baseball. As the New York Mets meet the Baltimore Orioles for game number 1. Now to Baltimore, and today's commentators, Kurt Gowdy and Tony Kubek.
We got a real good thing, a real good tape. It's a gorgeous day here in Baltimore, Maryland today. The temperature is 75 degrees. I'm Kurt Gowdy of NBC. This is Bill O'Donnell, the Baltimore Oriole broadcaster. Lindsey Nelson will be with us in New York when we move to Shea Stadium. And down on the field is my Game of the Week sidekick, Tony Kubek. He'll be roaming the stands with interesting guests and sidelights in this series. I think you can just about sum up the 69 World Series as saying, if you pick it on paper, it's the Orioles. They have the best statistics in hitting, in power, lowest staff earned run average. They've made the fewest errors. But the Mets didn't win the National League on paper. On paper, they didn't look as good as the Cardinals and the Cubs. They won it on the field, and that's what they're hoping to do here today. And, of course, the Mets not only have fans now in the New York area, they've become a national team as well. The starting pitchers today, right in back of me, is Tom Seaver, just 24 years old, starting a World Series game in this his third Major League season, and he was the winningest pitcher in the Major Leagues this year. He won 25 games. We have almost opposites here today, young and old, right and left. Mike Cuellar is 32 years old, and he was the winningest left-hander in the majors today as he won 23 ball games. So it's Cuellar for the Orioles, Tom Seaver for the New York Mets. And now let's get over here to Bill O'Donnell for his pregame comments. Bill does an outstanding job of broadcasting for the Baltimore Orioles. Bill?
Thank you very much, Kurt, and it's a delight indeed to join you this afternoon. Kurt used the word opposite in his pregame comments, and actually both these clubs won their pennants in opposite ways. The Orioles, from practically the middle of April, just breezed to the American League pennant. On the other hand, the Mets had to fight their way to win the National League pennant, although they had kind of a breeze winning the National League Championship Series over Atlanta. They had to come from mid-August until mid-September before they finally caught and then went ahead of the Chicago Cubs to win the Eastern Division. Now, as far as the ballpark here at Memorial Stadium is concerned this afternoon, this ballpark really does not favor a hitter any more than it favors a thrower. We have short lines down both left and right, but then the park and the fences break away. As you notice, it is only 309 feet down the left field side. The power alleys break away to between 380 and 390. To dead center field, and that'll be covered, I'm sure, a lot in this ballpark by both Tommy Agee and Paul Blair. It is 410 feet, and the fence out in center measures 7 feet high. As we pan around to the right center field pockets, it is 380 and 390 in the power alleys, and it is the same down the right field side as it was down the left field side, 309 feet. Well, now, let's go downstairs to Tony Kubek.
Thank you, Bill. Kurt, right at this time, we're waiting for possibly the Vice President of the United States. It's rumored that he may be here today, and he may still come. Pat Nixon is scheduled to be here, David Eisenhower, and, of course, Tricia and Julie Nixon. At this point, the Commissioner of Baseball, Bowie Kuhn, and there's a room right behind me, behind the Orioles dugout, waiting for the dignitaries to show up, and we hope to bring them to you during the course of this ball game. Right now, let's go back upstairs.
We're going to have the starting lineups introduced. Then we'll have the ceremonial tossing out of the first ball to open the 69 series. It's Tom Seaver warming up in front of the New York Met dugout. And Mike Cuellar just to the side of the Baltimore dugout. The Baltimore Orioles dugout is in back of third, and the visiting or Met dugout is in back of first base. And now we're ready for the player introductions.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Memorial Stadium for the first game of the 1969 World Series. Here are the official lineups. First, the New York Mets. Here is the manager of the New York Mets, number 14, Gil Hodges. Batting first and playing center field, number 20, Tommy Agee. Batting second and playing shortstop, number 3, Bud Harrelson. Batting third and playing left field, number 21, Cleon Jones. Batting fourth and playing first base, number 22, Don Clendenon. Batting fifth and playing right field, number 4, Ron Swoboda. Batting sixth and playing third base, number 5, Ed Charles. Batting seventh and catching for New York, number 15, Jerry Groot. Batting eighth and playing second base, number 6, Al Weiss. Batting ninth and pitching for the Mets this afternoon, number 41, Tom Seaver, who is warming up on the sideline.
And this is the Mets starting lineup. The rest of the coaches and players will be introduced in a group. This is the team that came from 9.5 games behind in mid-August to win the pennant, winning 38 of their last 49 games. They had great pitching, especially in the last 6 weeks. Good fielding. They're second in the National League in fielding. Their hitting was a question mark, but it certainly wasn't during the playoffs in their 3-game sweep against the Atlanta Braves. The New York Mets, the team that used to build a legend on ineptness, habitually used to lose 100 games, now is a 100-game winner, and a team that has captured the imagination of the entire country.
Number 36, Jerry Houston. Number 7, Ed Wakefield. Number 9, J.C. Martin. Number 43, Jim McAndrew. Number 35, Tug McGraw. Number 30, Elvin Ryan. Number 24, Art Shamsky. Number 42, Ron Taylor.
Now for the Baltimore Orioles. Here is the manager of the Orioles, Earl Wheeler. Batting first and playing left field, Don Buford. Batting second and playing center field, Paul Blair. Batting third and playing right field, Frank Robinson. Batting fourth and playing first base, Boog Powell. Batting fifth and playing third base, Brooks Robinson. Batting sixth, catching for Baltimore, Elrod Hendricks. Batting seventh And playing second base, Dave Johnson. Batting 8, playing shortstop, Mark Bellinger. Batting 9 and pitching for the Orioles this afternoon, Mike Cuellar, who's warming up on the sideline.
The rest of the Orioles will be introduced now. Baltimore won 109 games during the regular season. That's most since the 1961 Yankees won 109. They just won it going away. They were in first place from early in the season. Beautifully balanced baseball team. They led the American League in pitching and fielding. They were second to the Twins in offense and runs scored. They have a set lineup every day. They platoon only the catchers, and it's almost a team without a weakness.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our national anthem, which will be played by the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra and will be sung by Mr. Joseph Eubanks, Professor of Music at Morgan State College. This first game of the 1969 World Series is being brought to you from Memorial Stadium as the New York Mets meet the Baltimore Orioles.
1970 is where it all begins. The bold, bold, bold new world of Chrysler. Get into the swing of 70 at your Dodge and Plymouth dealers right now.
Come and join us.
We pause briefly for station identification. This is We're getting ready now for the ceremonial tossing out of the first pitch. There's Bowie Kuhn, the commissioner of baseball, who is going to throw out the first ball. This is Pat Nixon, is on his right, and the owner, Mrs. Payson, is on the commissioner's left. Mrs. Kuhn is in the box seats along with the commissioner. Mrs. Payson is leaving now. That's Precia Nixon, also with her mother. We've had all kinds of rumors. First, President Nixon was going to throw out the first ball, then Vice President Agnew, then David Eisenhower, and finally we're down to the first pitch with the Commissioner of Baseball, Bowie Kuhn. David Eisenhower and Mrs. Eisenhower. Julie? Cuellar cannot warm up. He has to wait until this traffic's out of the way. And now he turns aside and starts back to the dugout.
Kurt, normally in intense situations like this, and obviously before the first game of a World Series, in pressure situations, that is, normally Cuellar is not a fellow who is easily disturbed. But I'm sure, as most baseball fans and baseball experts are aware, nothing is more important before a ball game than a pitcher getting that arm warm and also getting ready. And over the last 4 or 5 minutes, Cuellar has not been able to get ready as he would like to get ready.
All right, here's the commissioner who was put in as a temporary commissioner, but who did such an outstanding job that he was signed a long-term, very healthy contract. An articulate, dynamic man who has proven to be a great leader for baseball. There's his pitch to Ellie Hendricks, the catcher of the Orioles. And now one more. Hendricks again. Jerry Grody, the catcher of the Mets, now gets to receive a first pitch to open the '69 World Series. And so the ceremonies are out of the way. We've already had the meeting at home plate among the umpires and the two managers. As the Orioles take the field, here's Bill O'Donnell.
Well, Kurt, if this 1969 World Series has the type of play that both of these clubs were involved in during the 1969 regular season, I'm sure that we're going to see one of the most exciting World Series of all times. We talked earlier about the use of the word opposites. The Orioles, who just had balanced power and balanced pitching strength, both as starters and relievers to win. The Mets, on the other hand, who used good defense, and one day after another, especially late in the season, pitching after pitching after pitching. That's the way they won their flag.
All right, let's set up the Orioles defensively. Boog Powell's at first base. Dave Johnson's at second. Mark Belanger's at shortstop. And Brooks Robinson at third. It's a brilliant infield for the Orioles. In left field, Don Buford. Paul Blair's in center field. And Frank Robinson is the right fielder. Ellie Hendricks will be catching. And Mike Cuellar, 32 years old, the starting pitcher of the '69 series for the Orioles. He throws 5 pitches. His out pitch, or the pitch he likes to use in a jam, especially to right-handers, is a screwball. Born in Cuba, lives now in Puerto Rico. His 13th professional season. His 6th season in the majors. He pitched for Cincinnati, St. Louis, and Houston prior to joining the Orioles this season. It was a great pickup.
The leadoff batter for New York.
Tom Agee, and you'd have to look this up. How many leadoff men in a World Series have ever led their team in runs batted in? Agee led the Mets in RBIs with 76. Hit .271, 26 homers. Good power to center and to right center. The first pitch of the series is a strike. Cuellar pitched last Saturday. And so did Seaver. Seaver usually works with 4 days rest. Cuellar with only 3. Foul back, strike 2. A little bit toward left for AG. 2-strike pitch. Just outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Cuellar led the Orioles in complete games and innings pitched, in most victories and in strikeouts. A 1-2 delivery. Ball 2, 2-2. On deck, Bud Harrelson. The 2-2 delivery, 3-2. He had him 2 strikes. Now it's a full count. They're trying to bite that outside corner against him. Agee bounced back and had a great year this year. Here's the 3-2 pitch to him. Foul ball. Three and two. Drill down to Robinson at third. One away. That's a familiar sight here in Baltimore. Brooks Robinson coming up with a ground ball. Voted the greatest all-time player for the Orioles. Hank Soares behind the plate, his 5th World Series of the American League. Frank Sartori at first, his 4th World Series. Larry Knapp of the American League at second, his 4th series. Shag Crawford of the National League at third, his 3rd. Lou DeMuro umpiring his 1st series on the left field line, and Lee Wire, the National League, on the right field line, his 1st World Series. 6 umpires assigned to today's game. Ball 1 to Bud Harrelson. Hit .248. No homers, 24 RBIs. The 1-0 pitch. Inside, ball 2. Harrelson, one of the best defensive shortstops in baseball. Better known for his glove than with his bat. We have 1 out, nobody out. We're in the top of the 1st inning. They're playing Harrelson fairly shallow in the outfield. Slam foul outside third. 2 balls and a strike to Bud Harrelson. Cleon Jones is on deck. The Mets have there's Jones, have their right-handed batters in today. They have 9 right-handed batters in the lineup. They won with left-handers against the Braves, but Gil Hodges' platoon. Foul out of play in the count, 2-2. Cuellar, though, is very effective against right-handers with that screwball, isn't he, Bill?
Kurt, there's also some philosophy, at least from some American League managers, that they feel that left-hand hitters handle Cuellar as well as right-hand hitters handle him.
Hit to Robinson again on an easy hop. 2 down. Yogi Berra coaching at first. Eddie Yost at third. Yogi's been in more World Series games, twice as much as all the players combined here in this stadium today.
Number 21, Cleon Jones.
He has been in 75 World Series games, 14 series with the Yankees, of course, where he piled up most of those games. 2 down, and Cleon Jones, a batter, a product of the Met farm system who's developed into a star. It's a strike zone. 3rd leading batter in the National League, hitting .340. 12 homers, 75 RBIs. He can spray the ball around. He's just not a late bloomer. He finished 6th in batting in the National League last year. A little bit high to him. A ball, 1-1. 2 away, bases empty. Top of the 1st. Don Clendenin is on deck. One and 2. Cuellar was consistent right from the opening of the season. One ball, 2 strikes. Let's see if he turns it over to him now. Ground ball out of the reach of Belanger. There's your first hit of the 1969 series. Cleon Jones on first with a single to center.
There's an example, Kurt, of that screwball that Jones tried to get to before he got the base hit up the middle.
Here's Don Clendenin. 248, 16 homers, 51 runs batted in. He didn't play in the series against Atlanta. The right-handed pitcher is going all the way. He started the season with Montreal, was traded to the Mets in mid-June, and he helped the Mets the rest of the way. 1 ball, no strikes. 2 down, Cleon Jones on first. Deep and straight away. Cuellar's move, Jones back. Jones is a good base runner. He stole 16 bases this year out of 24 attempts. One and one to him. Clendenin got hot in September. He hit 7 home runs during that month. Right when they counted. 1 ball, 1 strike. Ball 2. 2 and 1. Is Cuellar as sharp with his control today as he usually is, Bill? He's struggling a little. He's 3 and 2, and he's 2 and 2.
Well, the one thing that we haven't seen yet from Cuellar, and he throws it quite a bit, he's got a big rainbow soft curve.
Breaking away from that right-hander. 2 and 2 now.
Kurt, his pitching coach, George Bamberger, has said quite a few times during the season, everybody talks about Cuellar's screwball, but not too many people have talked about what Bamberger feels is a good Cuellar fastball and also that change-up curve.
We were impressed with his fastball against the Twins last Saturday. He was quick with it. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 down. First inning, no score. Clendenin the batter, reaching and fouling it back. Every now and then a slight breeze springs up and is blowing from first to third. Cuellar with his 2-2 pitch to Clendenin. Just got a piece. 2 and 2. On deck, Ron Swoboda. Clendenin's quite an athlete. He was a 12-letter man at Morehouse College. He was offered pro contracts by the football Cleveland Browns, the basketball New York Knicks, the Harlem Globetrotters, and the Pittsburgh Pirates. 3 different professional sports teams seeking his services. The 2-2 delivery. Struck him out, and the Mets were gone in the top of the first. No runs, 1 hit, there were no errors, 1 man left. Middle of the first inning to score. The Mets nothing. The Orioles are coming to bat.
This man seeks inner happiness by suffering. He has given up food, clothing, shelter, but one thing he cannot give up, the Gillette spoiler with a miracle plastic coating that reduces pull. Each day he struggles to deny his face this pleasure and fails. He is in the most tragic sense spoiled. No blade feels like the Gillette spoiler, except the Gillette injector spoiler.
Who are you?
Oh, how you doing, Guy? I'm your neighbor. Oh, didn't I tell you we share the same medicine cabinet? It's a new modern apartment. Hey, I see you got silver right, Guy. New antiperspirant. Yes, sir. Stop soda, keeps you dry.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I know all about that. I got the regular right guard. Yep, 1 shot, and I'm good for the whole day.
2 kinds of people, 2 kinds of right guard.
Mona!
Now let's set up the Mets defensively. Don Clendenin's at first base. Al Weiss at second. Bud Harrelson to shortstop. Ed Charles is at third. Cleon Jones in left field. Tom Agee in center. Ron Swoboda, the right fielder. Jerry Grody, the catcher. And Tom Seaver, the pitcher. Incidentally, the Mets, famous over the years for giving games away and making mistakes in the field, are a very, very sound defensive team. They finished second in the National League in fielding. And one of the reasons they're in this World Series is because they didn't make too many mistakes in the field during this past season. And there's a winningest pitcher in the Major League this year, 24-year-old Tom Seaver, who won 25 and lost 7. lives in Manhattan Beach, California, born in Fresno. A handsome, articulate, chosen National League Rookie of the Year in '67. Showed outstanding promise then and is developing into one of the real stars of the game. Don Buford hit .291 during the season, 11 homers and 64 RBI. And he can get on base. Ball one to him. Seaver, a good fastball, hard slider, uses sort of a rolling curve as a changeup. A high drive into deep right. Swoboda backing up, drawing a bead right in front of the wall and can't get it. Buford leads off with a home run. What a way to lead off a World Series.
Kurt, we just had, this is Swoboda. He thought he had enough room, and actually he did have enough room. The height of that fence right there, just to the right of the Mets bullpen, is 7 feet high. The glove will go over the fence. He went up about 9 feet with the glove, and he couldn't get to it.
Paul Blair takes strike one. Blair hit .285, had a slump in the last month of the season. 26 homers, 76 RBIs, goes after a curve, strike two. He hit over 300 most of the year and then slumped off.
Kurt, actually a little bit unusual for Seaver to give up a home run. In better than 200 innings, he only gave up 24 home run pitches during the regular year.
Foul, 0-2. Blair was telling us today he was taking his head off the ball. As he was swinging, he was jerking his head away, not keeping his head down and eyes on the ball. And he cured this in the playoffs, popped the curve back. And he got 5 hits in that third playoff game against the Twins. Frank Robinson on deck. It's the first time in his career he ever had 5 hits in a game. 2 strikes. Nobody on, nobody out. Baltimore ahead, 1-0. 1-2. Despite that late season slump, Blair led the Orioles in base hits and in stolen bases.
Kurt, right now, Seaver's leaning a little bit more on that breaking stuff of his rather than his best equipment, which is supposed to be that good hard fastball. But there was a strike.
1 out. George Stoller coaching at first for the Orioles and Billy Hunter at third. Frank Robinson, the judge. Hit .308 for the year, 32 homers, 100 RBIs. Foul back. I'll say one thing, Robinson's been consistent. A lifetime average in the National League of .303. And a lifetime average in the American League of .303. The only man who's ever been the most valuable player in both leagues. A 1-strike pitch to him by Tom Seaver. Foul back. 0-2. Boog Powell is on deck. The Orioles have 1 out, nobody on. And they're leading 1-0. A 2-strike pitch. 1-2. Seaver is a young pitcher with command. That is, he commands his pitches. A lot of young fellows have good stuff, but can't command them. Seaver can. Curve is beat foul. Billy Hunter, a former outstanding shortstop, making a stab down there. One ball, 2 strikes to Frank Robinson. The outfield deep in the step toward left. Struck him out on a high fastball. This game is authorized under television rights granted by Major League Baseball for the entertainment of our audience, and any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Commissioner of Baseball is prohibited. Well, if you're new to Boog Powell and the Orioles, when you heard that Boog, no booing, they're just yelling out his nickname. Right, Seaver is firing now. He has that riding fastball that rises, and when you sit in the dugout, the ball players say it walks. It just takes off on you. Powell hit .304, 37 homers, 121 RBI. There's his curve. 1 ball, 1 strike to Powell. A 1-1 pitch. Fastball, 1-2. Powell's been with the Orioles 8 years, and he's just 27. Has one of the smoothest swings in baseball. Power to left center, and he can pull the ball to right. Here's the 1-2 pitch to Boog Powell. 2-2. They're playing him to hit to right center or to right. 2 down, bases empty. Base hit to right by Powell. Ron Swoboda up. Back into Al Weiss. 2 down, Powell on first.
We see the power now of Powell coming right with the ball about belt high and a little bit on the inside corner. This is where Powell normally likes the ball, belt high and just over the inside corner of the plate. Most pitchers try to keep the ball away and down on Powell, but he got that ball belt high and belted it for the base knock.
Brooks Robinson hit .234, subpar year for him in batting average. Fly ball to center field. Ranging back is A.G. right on the warning pass for the out. Robinson hit that a long way to straightaway center to retire the side. The Orioles had 1 run, 2 hits, there were no errors, and 1 left. And at the end of the first inning, the score, Baltimore 1 and New York nothing.
If you don't have a personal checking account at the Bank of Commerce, here's what you're missing out on. A wallet like this, embossed in gold. A checkbook, your own personal checkbook to go inside it. A little book that lets you keep an up-to-date record of your account instantly. At the end of the month, you automatically receive a statement showing everything you've spent. And just to show you where you spent it, the Commerce mails back your canceled checks. A Commerce personal checking account is the most convenient way there is to run your family's finances. And believe me, running a family can be a big business.
Annual report.
Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, one of the world's great banks.
You know, this World Series is truly an international event. Today's game being seen in Canada on both the French and English networks, in Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Panama, St. Thomas and the Virgin Islands, and on a delayed basis in Bogota, Colombia. And the final World Series game will be seen in England and Japan. This annual classic has really become, with the satellites now, the World Series. In Europe, Vietnam, Korea, and around the world, the Armed Forces Radio Service on his 300 radio stations beaming the play-by-play. Ron Swoboda, a local boy, comes home. Reared right here in this Baltimore area. Hit .235 for the season, 9 homers, 52 RBI. And a bunny's way on. Right? He attended the University of Maryland for 1 year before signing his contract with the Orioles. Screwball foul back. He played in this stadium 1 game as a high school boy. 2 strikes to Swoboda. Charles on deck and then Grody. Second strikeout for Cuellar. And here's the oldest player of the non-pitchers in this World Series, veteran Ed Charles, 35 years old. Hit 207, 3 homers, 18 RBIs. They call him the glider on the Mets squad. Right to him because of the way he runs. And they have a favorite saying in the Mets clubhouse when he'd get a hit, the glider hit the slider. 1 strike. 1-0, Baltimore leading in the top of the second. Foul back. 0-2 to Charles. On deck, Gary Grody, the Met catcher. Just missed with a fastball. Cuellar is tough with that large assortment of pitches. He's a craftsman on the mound. Knows how to set you up. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Curve is inside one. 2-2. He was one of 2 American League pitchers to beat every opposing club during the season. The other one's his teammate, Jim Palmer. The 2-2 pitch. And out goes Ed Charles. That's the 3rd strikeout in a row now for Mike Cuellar. 2 down for the Mets, nobody on, and Jerry Grody up. Grody hit 252 this year with 6 homers, 40 RBIs. Fastball is 1-0. The on-deck batter is the second baseman, Al Weiss. 2 down, bases clear. Orioles 1, Mets 0, top of the second. Off curve, he dropped in. 1 ball, 1 strike. Fastball hit to short. The big hop to Belanger, and the Mets go down 1-2-3 in the second. At the end of an inning and a half, it's the Orioles 1 and the Mets 0.
The river's a giant, blind and strong, sweeping and driving the logs along, pushing them up on the rocks and the shore, till the men set them free to go tumbling once more. The treacherous jams will tax all their skill as the bold, hardy loggers press on to the mill. But their task never ends till the long drive is done, and the satisfied loggers have conquered the run. And then their reward is an O'Keefe ale. It's smoother than the rest. Yes, O'Keefe is the ale these men enjoy. O'Keefe ale satisfies best. O'Keefe ale, the right ale for right now.
Let's go down to the stands now to Tony.
Thank you, Kurt. With me down in the field, the Commissioner of Baseball, Bowie Kuhn. And Bowie, if this World Series is anything like those playoffs, it's really going to be something.
It really is. It's starting out on a pretty exciting note. That ball Buford hit was a well-tagged ball. Interesting play out there, I thought. Looks very exciting. We've got Mrs. Nixon and her family here. It's another great day for baseball, I think.
Commissioner, we're going to try and talk to some other people in your party a little bit later on. Thank you so much.
Good, Tony. Good to see you.
Thank you, Bowie Kuhn, Commissioner of Baseball. Back upstairs.
Ellie Hendricks leads off for the Orioles in the last of the second. Seaver feeds him a curve, ball 1. Hendricks hit 244, 12 homers, 38 runs batted in. He has some power to right, and they're swung around toward right for him. Strike. Naturally, both teams have been thoroughly scouted by the other. There's the defensive setup with Charles, the third baseman, playing even with a bag. The slow curve has popped up. Ed Charles is calling for it. The Met third baseman has it, one down. Brings up Dave Johnson. One reason the Orioles won 109 games, if you look at the bottom of their batting order, Dave Johnson hit 280, batting 7th, and Mark Belanger, the shortstop, hit 287, hitting 8th. They had a bet on their roommates, these two, which one would get the most hits. Belanger won the bet. The bet in spring training. Fly ball into center field. Tom Agee waiting for it, and there are 2 down. Mark Belanger, who has always been known as an outstanding defensive player, but a real question mark with a bat, has probably been one of the biggest surprises of the Major League season. He hit 287, had 2 homers, 51 runs batted in. Charlie Lau, the Oriole hitting coach, helped him a lot. Strike, close his stance up a bit, try to get him to wait more and chop down on the ball. Outside, the only shortstop in the majors that hit for a higher average was Boston's Rico Petrocelli, who hit 297. Fella can really feel, can he, Bill?
And with the extra bat, of course, his fielding range is even better, Kurt.
There's a ground ball to third, and that's a quick 1-2-3 inning for Tom Seaver. So at the end of 2 innings, the score, the Baltimore Orioles 1 and the New York Mets nothing.
If you appreciate spacious living and quiet authority, you could be Dodge material.
I say jolly good choice, what? Big Dodge?
Yes, excellent choice. Big Dodge.
Didn't I tell you? Big Dodge has more interior room than the limousine.
Yes, it's very roomy.
And smooth. Now, wouldn't you say that's just about the smoothest ride you've ever had?
Smooth? Yes, very smooth indeed.
And the new wide stance. Big Dodge handles even better. And it's quieter than the limousine, too.
Big Dodge is definitely quiet.
And with Chrysler air conditioning, it's every bit as comfortable, wouldn't you say?
Yes, more comfortable.
And it isn't very expensive for all the car you get. James?
Yes, Mr. Snodgrass.
Sell the limousine.
Yes, Mr. Snodgrass.
Good night, James.
Good night, Mr. Snodgrass.
You don't have to be eccentric or a millionaire to be Dodge material.
Down in the commissioner's box, the fellow with the dark glasses in the second row is Ted Williams. The owner of the Senators right beside him. Commissioner Giles, after 50 years of outstanding service to baseball with his arms folded, president of the National League. Tricia Nixon. Mrs. Nixon, our first lady. Commissioner Kuhn, Mrs. Kuhn. David Eisenhower and his wife Julie. And wouldn't doubt the Secret Service men. Al Weiss leading off. The strike. Al Weiss hitting .215, 2 homers, 23 runs batted in. Ball 1. When Weiss was with the White Sox, they had a collision at second base. Weiss's knee rammed into the head of Frank Robinson, and Robinson had a concussion and had double vision for nearly a year. So these two remember each other, 2-1. That's Tom Seaver, the pitcher, on deck. And out of that concussion, Weiss received some torn ligaments in his knee. They both were injured. The 2-1 pitch by Cuellar is fouled back, and the count's 2-2. Pitchers are all set for tomorrow. 2 left-handers going, McNally for the Orioles, Koosman for the Mets. And they're all set for next Tuesday in New York, too. Gentry for the Mets and Jim Palmer for the Orioles. Ball 3, 3-2. Al Weiss. One run, 2 hits for the Orioles. No runs, 1 hit for the Mets. Cuellar gives up his first walk. Tom Seaver battles you at the plate. He's an all-around athlete. He's a good fielding pitcher. Has good speed. Sticking a base hit now and then. So he's no soft touch up there. Weiss at first, nobody out. 1-0 Baltimore, top of the third. Brooks Robinson creeping in at third, looking for the bunt. Foul back. 0-1. This first game of the World Series being brought to you in living color on NBC. Another reason why we say if it's really special, it's on NBC. Trying to bunt again. 0-2. Now let's see if Seaver tries to bunt on the third strike. Al Weiss, a fast man at first. Look out. Oh, they nearly got him. Cuellar has a deceptive move to first and nearly had Weiss leading the wrong way. That was a close play. 2 strikes to Seaver. He may switch back here and try and chop this one. Oh, over to first again. Robinson is ready to charge anyway from third. Whether Seaver bunts or chops away at it. Going to swing. Struck him out. 4 strikeouts for Cuellar. Now we go to the top of the Met batting order, and Tom Agee, who grounded out to third his first time.
Number 20, Tommy Agee.
Agee led the Mets in a lot of departments this year. Games played, RBIs, runs, total bases, times at bat, and strikeouts. Ground ball to short. Belanger to Johnson for 1 on the first. Double play. An easy double play. The Mets are all out in the third. No runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left. At the end of 2.5, Baltimore 1 and New York 0.
What man can resist it? The clean, crisp aroma of ocean surf. Get it in new Gillette Foamy Surf Spray Shaving Cream. A new fragrance, like the refreshing spray of a breaker. The foamy crispness of ocean whitecaps. If you've ever enjoyed the refreshing scent of ocean spray on your skin, you know what to expect in new Foamy Surf Spray by Gillette. Take the plunge today.
Car makers test their cars on roads. Gillette tests their razors on faces. We designed the Gillette Techmatic for faces like this, with a razor band that's less likely to nick as it takes the curves. Light to ride gently over life's little potholes. The revolutionary Gillette Techmatic. Take it for a test shave.
I see you've got old number 9 there, Tony.
Hey, Kurt. Ted said to say hi to you. Ted? He's up on top there, but what about this Baltimore hitting as a team?
Well, I want to tell you, I saw them all year, as you know, and they just seemed like a club that if they needed a run, they could get a run. And they got hitting all through their lineup. As far as I'm concerned, they're an outstanding ball club.
And they can do more than just hit, too, can't they, Ted? They can play defense.
That's right. They have a well-balanced club. Certainly the best balanced club in our league, I would say. And,
Ted, congratulations to you on your fine year, and we may talk to you later. Thank you so much.
Mike Cuellar got a hand when he came up. The first pitch to him was ball 1. 1-1. Cuellar, Buford, and Blair here in the last of the third. 1-2 to Mike Cuellar. The Oriole run came in the first inning on a leadoff home run by Don Buford. And that's been the scoring so far. Curve in the dirt, 2-2. The 2-2 pitch. That is strikeout number 3 for Tom Seaver. And here is Buford coming up, getting a hand for his home run. Those are the season records of both teams for the years. Both have the most wins in the majors. Both swept the playoffs. So it's only fitting they should be meeting here in the series. Tom Buford's done, I think, a very nice thing. He's invited his old college coach and his son to be his guest here at the World Series. Ball one. Rod Daydew, the University of Southern California baseball coach, and his son Justin are here. The 1-0 pitch. Bounding ball to the right side. Weiss can't make a play. We'll see how they score that one. An error has been charged to Al Weiss. The scorers today are Dick Young, New York Daily News, who's president of the Baseball Writers Association, Lou Hatter of the Baltimore Sun, and Joe Durso of the New York Times. And they score by committee. In other words, each gives a decision. 2 out of 3 win. Curveball is hit high in the air in the left field. Jones looking up there in that bright sun. 2 down. Buford gets back. Here's Frank Robinson now, who struck out his first time. We received a telegram before the game. A fellow at Trinity University down in San Antonio wanted us to say that the only university with representatives on both World Series teams is Trinity University. Jerry Grody of the Mets and Dave Johnson for the Orioles. However, he's not right. USC has Seaver for the Mets and Buford for the Orioles. Ball one to Frank Robinson. 2 down. Buford stole 19 bases this past season at first. Robinson can handle that bat. He'll go behind the runner. Ball 2. If we get another center field shot, you'll see how he crowds the plate. Over the years, he's always been a batter that's led the league many times in being hit by pitch balls. The 2-0 pitch to him, ripping away at that high inside pitch. You've been hit many times this year?
13 times, Curtis, been hit by opposing pitchers this year.
Led the American League in being hit by pitch balls this year, and 6 times he led the National League being hit. And he'll bounce right up and attack the next pitch. 2 balls, 1 strike. If you knock him down, if you hit him, he's on first. But if you knock him down, he's fearless up there.
Kurt, pitchers work on Buford not so much because he has good speed, but also Buford very frequently will take a dangerous kind of lead. So that's why Seaver's working on him so much.
2-1 count to Frank Robinson. You saw Buford, a little body wiggle there. Watching him, he get a little body wiggle going, and he wants that pitcher to think he may be able to step off here at any second. 2 down, 2-1 the count. There he goes. Curveball hit the third. Ed Charles up with it. And the Orioles are out in the third. No runs, no hits. There was 1 error, 1 man left. At the end of 3, it is Baltimore 1 and New York nothing.
In this remote part of Canada, people depend on the river. And by river, regularly as clockwork, Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce brings banking service to them. The MV Jean-Briand is just one of the more than 1,350 commerce branches where you can save. It's typical of commerce determination to make saving money easier and more convenient. Think how handy your own commerce branch is. Here's why. Because the Commerce has more branches than any other bank on this continent.
Bank of Commerce, Bank of Commerce.
Keep cash on hand at the Commerce, one of the world's great banks.
You know, baseball and NBC have been partners for longer than most people realize. The first sports event ever televised was the Princeton-Columbia College baseball game back in May of 1939. There were about 487-inch screen television sets around New York at the time. They didn't have ratings in those days, but we know that 28,600,000 homes, a record for a sports telecast, tuned in the fourth game of the World Series last year at Detroit. Strike one to Bud Harrelson, who grounded out his first time up. Straight away for him. Harrelson, Jones, and Clendenin for the Mets. Bounding ball to Robinson. They call him the human vacuum sweeper here. He just sweeps up everything. In fact, that left side of the Baltimore infield, you've got to really hit a shot to get it through between Robinson covering the line at third, ranging to his left, and Belanger with his great range at short. One out, nobody on. Cleon Jones singled his first time. Cuellar has struck out 4 and walked 1. A ball to Jones, who was born in Plateau, Alabama, lives now in Mobile. 27 years old. One and one. On deck is Clendenin. One out, nobody on. The Orioles ahead, 1-0. Fly ball to left. Don Buford puts it away, and we have 2 down. Since that Buford home run, we haven't really had a ball hit hard. Don Clendenin struck out his first time. There's a drive in the left center for a base hit. They're trying to cut it off. It goes to the fence. Clendenin will have extra bases and is in with a stand-up double. The Mets have their second hit.
Kurt, fortunately, as Clendenin came through to get that double that went past Buford in deep left center field, he got that pitch on the outside corner, and he managed to pull it pretty well to the left center field pocket alley. And luckily, Blair had backed up Buford, or else Clendenin might have had a chance to go to third.
Ron Swoboda struck out his first time. Each team now has 2 hits. The Orioles are leading 1-0 in the top of the 4th. 1-0 to Swoboda. Clendenin at second. 2 down. On deck, Ed Charles. Fly ball, right center. Paul Blair going for it. Has a beat on it. And the Mets are out of the 4th. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, 1 left. 3.5 innings gone. The Baltimore Orioles 1 and the New York Mets nothing.
These are the good times, and good times just naturally go together with good times just naturally go together with Old Vienna.
Hey, Tony, tell Ted I'll check him out in his fly casting this winter.
You hear what Kurt said? He's going to check your fly casting out this winter, Teddy. Listen, congratulations on the fine year you had and, of course, your ball. That was really great.
Well, the happy thing about it, as far as I'm concerned, is that we did a little better than most people thought. And I think that's the way the rest of our club felt, too.
Ted, you're going to get a lot of votes for Manager of the Year, and you deserve it. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Let's get back upstairs.
Boog Powell leads off for the Orioles in the last of the 4th. He singled to right his first time. Strike. Some clubs shift on Powell, but the Mets are not. Ball 1, 1-1. Every manager has his own idea how to play. It depends on who's pitching and what kind of ball club you have. They're swung around toward right, both in the infield and the outfield for him, though. 2-1. The on-deck batter, Brooks Robinson, and then we'll go to Ellie Hendricks. Seaver has struck out 3. He hasn't walked anyone. Pops it up off the 5th. It's going to be out of play. Two and 2 to John Powell. Reared in Key West, Florida, now lives here in the Baltimore area. He used to. He moved. Now he's moved to Miami, Bill O'Donnell tells me. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Curve, didn't want to swing at it. Bud Harrelson charged it. Powell is out. Faster man might have beaten that one out, but Powell's not exactly a speed merchant. 1 down. You don't usually see him hold up on a swing like that. He usually goes through, whether he's made a mistake or not. Brooks Robinson flied to deep center his first time. One out, nobody on. He pops it up to the right side. Al Weiss puts it away, and that's out number 2. And since that leadoff homer to Buford, Tom Seaver has been tough for the Orioles. Ellie Hendricks popped up his first time.
Number 10, Elrond Hendricks.
2 down, nobody on. Hendricks played as a pull hitter to right. Dave Johnson on deck. 1-0. Dave Johnson. The changeup is ball 2. Seaver and Ferguson Jenkins of the Cubs were the only National League pitchers to defeat every opposing club. The 2-0 pitch. 3-0. With 2 out, nobody on. Seaver was just as tough on the road as he was at home. He won 13 and lost 4 on the road. Won 12 and lost 3 at Shea Stadium. Strike. 3-1 to Ellie Hendricks. Base hit by Hendricks. Their third hit for the Orioles, their first hit since the first inning. Dave Johnson, the batter, fly to center his first down.
Number 15, David Johnson.
Billy Hunter, the third base coach. 1 run, 3 hits for Baltimore. No runs, 2 hits for New York. The Orioles have 2 down. Hendricks at first. The curve is outside. 1-0. Fastball misses, 2-0. There's a white house beyond the ballpark in center field that when a right-handed pitcher, there it is, just beyond the flagpole, sometimes comes way over the top. It can be distracting for the hitters. Two balls and no strikes. Hendricks at first, 2 down. 3-0.
Kurt, this is the Oriole bat boy, Jay Mazzone, who has those artificial limbs, and he's used those artificial limbs since he was 2 years old. He was unfortunately in a very bad fire, but those artificial limbs have not hurt this youngster one bit.
The strike shows what you can do when you want to do it.
Kurt, amazingly enough, that youngster we just saw is also a bowler and bowls over 150 a game.
That's really something. 3-1 the count. Let's watch here. 2 down. Hendricks is holding all 4, and the Orioles have runners on first and second. And that's the first walk given up by Tom Seaver. Mark Belanger is the batter. We're going to pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC television. Belanger grounded to third his first time up. Hendricks at second, Johnson at first, 2 down. Seaver fires a fastball through. 0-1. Breeze has changed up now. It's blowing from third to first. Not much of a wind, though. 1 strike. 1-1. Clendenin's playing way off the bag at first. Johnson had a huge lead there. Brody was trying to bluff him back. 1 ball, 1 strike. There's a base hit to right. Swoboda's firing to the plate. The throw is off. The throw to third is not in time. Belanger singles to right. Swoboda charged that ball. Looked like he had a good play at the plate, but as you saw, his throw was off.
Kurt, here it is in slow motion. The pitch was outside. Belanger went with the outside pitch right between the second and the first baseman, Weiss, for Clendenin. Swoboda tried to come home with the throw, may have hurried the throw, and it was down the third base foul line. And then the throw from the catcher, Grodion, to Charles was also late.
So the Orioles now have Dave Johnson at third, Belanger at first. Give Belanger an RBI. And his hitting down there in that number 8 spot has been so vital for the Orioles all season. The pitcher, Mike Cuellar's up. He struck out his first time. The Orioles lead now 2-0. Runners on first and third, 2 down. It's a little looper. Base hit in the left center. In the score is Dave Johnson. Belanger stops at second, and Cuellar helps his own car. And he doesn't want a warm-up jacket. And now here's a fellow who became the 8th player in World Series history to hit a home run in his first time at bat in a World Series. Mickey Lolich was the last to do it. Ball one. To Tom Buford, who homered in the first, reached in an error in the third. Belanger's at second, Cuellar's at first, 2 away. 4 Orioles in a row have reached base. 3-0, Baltimore. There's a drive to right field. That's into the corner. Coming in to score is Belanger. Cuellar's going to third. And in the second goes Buford with his speed. A double. Five in a row have reached now for Baltimore. Paul Blair's up. He's the 8th batter of the inning, and we're going to get some action now in the Met bullpen. Rube Walker, the Met pitching coach, coming out. Seaver was sailing along. He had Powell on a grounder, Robinson pops up, and then Hendricks single, Johnson walked, Belanger single in a run, Cuellar single in a run, and Buford double in a run. Ron Taylor warming up. Four to nothing, Baltimore leading. They've scored 3 times here in the last of the fourth. Runners on second and third, 2 down. 6 hits off Seaver for the Orioles. Curve is hit to third. Charles up with it. And that's it. 8 men went to the plate. 3 runs for the Orioles. 4 hits. There were no errors and 2 left. At the end of 4 innings, it's Baltimore 4 and New York nothing.
What is it?
What is it?
What is it?
What is it?
Asking the question doesn't make it. Driving the answer makes it. Plymouth makes it.
Once again, Tony Kubek.
Thank you, Kurt. Down here with me in the commissioner's box, David Eisner on my left and his lovely wife, Julie Eisenhower. David, what about this ball game? What about the ball club? Do you have a favorite?
Well, I definitely got a favorite. I'm a Baltimore fan.
You're sitting on the American League side.
I've always been on the American League side of things in the World Series. So I think I'm with most of the professionals and not very many of the fans, I think, in predicting the ball.
Julie, you know your husband's probably the greatest baseball fan I've ever seen. I had a chance to spend some time with him during the All-Star game. He knows more about baseball than any professional announcer I ever heard.
He really does. And you know the night that the White House had the party for all the baseball people? Well, one of the members on my dad's staff called David at work in Senator Rester's office and was getting all these statistics for my dad to use in his speech because David was the encyclopedia. They didn't even need to go to a book.
Well, I'm sure your father would like to be here, as great a sports fan as he
He
is.
really would. He was planning to come, and then he's having this Vietnam meeting, so he couldn't make it.
Dave, thank you so much. Maybe we'll get back to you a little bit later. Thank you. I want to get some inside baseball knowledge from you in just a few minutes.
Good seeing you again, Sam.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Julie. Let's go back upstairs.
We're going to the fifth inning here in Baltimore. Ed Charles starts it off for the Mets. He struck out his first time. Mike Cuellar, ball one. Cuellar has allowed 2 hits. A single by Cleon Jones and a double by Clem Denon. He has struck out 4 and walked 1. Out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike. Don Cardwell is warming up in the Met bullpen.
Kurt, we saw Tony downstairs interviewing David Eisenhower one night in a ball game in Anaheim. He came in unannounced with about 5 minutes as we see Taylor warming up again out in the bullpen. Sat right upstairs unannounced and came in and enjoyed the ball game.
2-1. The on-deck batter is Grody. Foul back. You know, the Oriole pitching has been something in the World Series. They played in the 66 series, swept the Dodgers 4 games, and pitched 3 shutouts in a row the last 3 games. And Cuellar has 4 innings of shutout here so far.
Kurt, in that 66 season, the Oriole bullpen was almost as effective as the starters. This season, the bullpen has not been called on as much as it was in 66.
A 2-2 pitch, foul back. Ed Charles is quite a poet. He's had a book of poetry published. Nobody on, nobody out. Top of the 5th inning. Bounding ball to Robinson. Backs him up. A hurry-up throw right on the button. 4 chances for Brooks Robinson in the game. Well, you talk about your great third baseman of all time. There's one of them. High trainer, picked on the all-time team. Robinson